following edition of the book of Genesis was discovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls. If authentic, that's a big old if, and you'll see why. If authentic, it would shed light on the question, where do pets come from? And Adam said, Lord, when I was in the garden, you walked with me every day. Now I do not see you anymore. I am lonesome here, and it is difficult for me to remember how much you love me. And God said, no problem. I will create a companion for you that will be with you forever, and who will be a reflection of my love for you, so that you will know I love you even when you cannot see me. Regardless of how selfish and childish and unlovable you may be, this new companion will accept you as you are and will love you as I do in spite of yourself. And God created a new animal to be a companion for Adam, and it was a good animal. And God was pleased, and the new animal was pleased to be with Adam, and he wagged his tail. And Adam said, but Lord, I have already named all the animals in the kingdom, and all the good names are taken, and I cannot think of a name for this new animal. And God said, no problem, because I have created this new animal to be a reflection of my love for you. His name will be a reflection of my own name, and you will call him Dog. And Dog lived with Adam and was a companion to him and loved him, and Adam was comforted, and God was pleased, and Dog was content and wagged his tail. After a while, it came to pass that Adam's guardian angel came to the Lord and said, Lord, Adam has become filled with pride. He struts and preens like a peacock, and he believes he is worthy of adoration. Dog has indeed taught him that he is loved, but no one has taught him humility. And God said, no problem. I will create for him a companion who will be with him forever and who will see him as he is. You see where this is going. The companion will remind him of his limitations, so he will know that he is not worthy of adoration. And God created Cat to be a companion to Adam. And Cat would not obey Adam. And when Adam gazed into Cat's eyes, he was reminded that he was not the supreme being. And Adam learned humility, and God was pleased. And Adam was greatly improved. And Cat didn't give a damn one way. I love this anonymous parable. For one reason, I love the image of a God whose first answer to everything is, no problem. Because if this was a true, authentic piece of the Dead Sea Scrolls, it would let us know that folks a long time ago had great senses of humor, and it would shed a little light on the complicated relationship that humans have with animals. I wish that it continued on to explain some other pieces, but it ends with Cat. If you were to take a closer look at our treatment of animals, you might end up a bit confused. Some we love, and some we fear. Some share our beds, others end up on our plates. Throughout time, animals have given us much. Clothing provided by their fleece or their skin, food to fill us, tools crafted from their bones, labor in our fields, oil for light, subjects in experiments from which we have all undoubtedly benefited. Animals, referred to by John Muir as our horizontal brothers, have long been recognized as essential to our development and well-being. Throughout history, they have played a major role in human thought and culture. They inhabit our myths, our fables, proverbs, and stories. There's a profound, inescapable need for animals among all peoples. For while animals have inhabited a world without us, we have never lived without the companionship, example, and practical help of animals. Now today, because of widespread pollution, urban expansion, destruction of habitats, we are seeing an irreversible loss of animal life. We can only guess what the effect will be on our children and on their children when they live in a world in which elephants live only in zoos, great whales no longer fill the seas with their song, and the forests that are left standing are silent. The fact that so many of us are increasingly isolated from the presence of animals may contribute to the growing despair we feel. We have not only lost touch with the reality of their existence, or we deny or run from the existence when exposed, we've also banished them from our minds. We assume they have nothing to teach us about the predicaments of our existence. We no longer know how to listen to the wisdom of the four-legged, the six-legged, the finned, the winged creatures that share our life. We forget they are ancestors as well as kindred. Direct encounters with animals, meeting them on their ground, evokes wonder, awe, and respect. Their vivid life brings us alive to the source that creates and sustains all beings. And without such encounters, we risk losing that part of ourselves which most deeply resonates with nature, the heart of compassion. This compassion for all beings and the way that we can be transformed by the animals that share our lives are both lessons that I learned at an early age from my father. And I could think of no better topic to honor him on Father's Day than to contemplate our relationship to animals. For he's always been a true animal lover. My mother often says of my father, "I'm not sure what's wrong with him. He just loves the animals." My mother obviously does not share my father's devotion. Now, raised with many stories of his childhood pets, it was a dream of mine to someday be allowed to have a dog. And when I turned 11, it was my father who convinced my incredibly skeptical mother that we could bring Maggie, a Cocker Spaniel, into our lives. It was also my father who convinced me that cats were wonderful as well, welcoming 4 of them into our home over the years, each one spending many nights curled up next to him. My favorite memory, however, is not from Maggie or Oliver, Sebastian, Samantha, or Holly. It's of my dad and Peanut, an animal that my father would feed every night at dinner. And it may not seem like a particularly memorable activity, feeding an animal at dinner, but you see, Peanut was a squirrel. Each night when we would sit down to dinner, Peanut would climb the screen door and wait. Yeah, imagine being a little kid and looking up and on the screen door there's a squirrel hanging there. Dad would put down his fork, get up from the table, grab a few peanuts out of the bowl on the counter set aside specifically for this purpose. He would open the door and reach out 1 peanut at a time and wait while Peanut the squirrel would carefully take the delicacy out of his hand, peel open the shell, eat his dinner, and reach up for more. After 4 or 5, he would stand up straight on his 2 little legs, his sign that he was full. We would all chorus together, "Good night, Peanut," and he would be on his way. A squirrel every night for dinner. Can you imagine? But that squirrel brought a smile to my father's tired and worn face every night, and a small chuckle that we seldom heard and were grateful for each time it appeared. And together we grieved on the night and the days following, when we realized that for some reason that we were never able to name, Peanut wasn't coming back. This is what I learned from my father and Peanut. Family is based on love, not species. If we go back to the beginning, not the very beginning, but the biblical beginning, we see that the messages we've been given about the animals have not always been as kind-hearted and loving as the one that I got from my dad. In the book of Genesis, book 1, chapter 1, verse 26, here's what it tells us. Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness. And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon this earth." This verse has led many to believe that there's no real connection between human and animals except that of dominance. Our own species is special, set apart, set above the animal kingdom, and it's our right and privilege to own, use, abuse, and destroy. Many renowned Western thinkers promoted such views. Aristotle, whose influence on Western thinking is enormous, posited a hierarchy in which human beings possessed the inalienable right to use animals as we pleased. René Descartes gave us a new paradigm for thinking about animals, what he called automata, boiling down to animals, since they don't contain souls in his view, they don't contain them because they cannot reflect upon themselves or their lives. So since they can't do this, they are therefore no more than meat machines. Yet travel a little farther into the Hebrew scriptures and you find a different perspective. The perspective that started our reading today comes from the book of Job. It says, "Ask now the beasts, and they shall teach thee. Ask the fowls of the air, and they shall teach thee. And the fishes of the sea shall declare unto thee." These verses reflect more of the strength and the beauty of the animal-human bond. They expose the awareness that these species have messages to give us, lessons to teach us, wisdom to impart and declare. Their presence can touch our souls, heal our psyches, teach us about loss, empathy, connection, and restore our spirits. Animals are, as the author Susan Chernak McElroy once observed, living embodiments of grace and blessing. Many of us know firsthand the healing that an animal can bring. Kathleen Harris wrote this poem titled "Cat from the Animal Shelter." Old, lost, gaunt, frightened, you were no barn cat. Dignified as a dowager, your craving for chicken scraps and fat declared you once belonged, were somebody's pampered house pet. With your unkept black beauty and trustful affection, not fawning, but as appealing as a good dog's, you cheated death. They pronounced you much too nice to destroy, said they couldn't put you down. After her husband's sudden death, she took you home, gave you shelter, held tight your large, bony, tense softness all through the night, and wondered in the morning whether she saved you or you saved her. That animals can literally heal us and bolster our well-being is not the stuff of fiction or the occasional news report. Scientists are gathering growing evidence of the benefits of our relationships with animals, such as lowering our blood pressure, reducing stress in relationships when an animal lives in the home, raising the spirits of residents in nursing homes. Studies describe positive benefits such as enhanced self-esteem, increased social interaction, reduced heart rates, reduced need for medication, improved morale among staff. And studies have shown they can even modify the violent behavior of men in prison who were given the responsibility of caring for a pet. What is it about animals that makes this so? They help us to transcend the limits of ourselves and open to mystery and wonder. They remind us, through seeing ourselves through their eyes, of our true goodness and beauty. They remind us of who we really are. And animals are oftentimes the first teachers into the land of loss and grief. Mark Doty wrote these words in a memoir titled Dog Years. "You can't tell most people," he says, "about the death of a pet. Not quite. There's an expectation that you shouldn't overreact, shouldn't place too much weight on this loss. In the scheme of things, shouldn't this be a smaller matter? It's just a dog. Get another one. It's just a cat. Get another one. It's a pet." One of the unspoken truths of American life is how deeply people grieve over the animals who live and die with them. How real that emptiness is. How profound the silence is these creatures leave in their wake. The death of a pet is, after all, the first death that most of us know. Such a loss prefigures the ones to come, and as a point of origin reverberates throughout a life. Many of us learn this lesson of limits as children. The child's apprehension of mortality is a set of initiations, wonderings, woundings, introductions to mystery, and animals are often the ones who make these introductions. The little turtle in the grass, the lifeless snake on the path, the house empty of energy and life when the beloved pet is gone. They are more than themselves for us as children. They lead us into the depth of this life. This was very true for Sam, our now 7-year-old, when at the ripe old age of 4, he came home from preschool one day to find that our beloved family cat, Holly, had died. She was with us for 13 years. She was the child that we doted on before his birth, and he had never known a world without her. When he came home from school and realized the weight, the pain of her absence, his screams and his cries surprised his parents and filled every room. But the lesson that she taught will be with him forever, because now we overhear him telling friends that death is really nothing to worry about, nothing to be afraid of. "Yeah," he says, oh so knowingly for his old age. "You can't hear them anymore or touch them, but they're always with you, right here." And animals are experts on love and companionship. The animals that share our homes don't care what we look like, how successful we are, whether we're fat or thin, rich or poor. They simply love us. We benefit from their attention and enjoy their unconditional love, a love that never doubts our motives, that doesn't complicate things as humans tend to do, a love that never wavers or withdraws. One of my favorite stories comes from a family of African elephants that ranged in age from 6 months to 60 years. And they were trying to cross a river, and they were all able to navigate the waters except the youngest one, who traveled out partway, realized it was too deep for him, and turned back. Those who were able to make it across got to the other shore, turned around, realized he couldn't make it, and they all, one at a time, crossed back to him, reconnected, traveled farther down the river until they found a place where they could all get across safely. self-interest, trusting one another, leaving no one behind because you know we're all in this together and we need to look out for each other, working for the good of all, living our lives so that all might thrive. These are lessons they will teach us if we let them. In a moment, we will have a blessing of the animals. To bless another is more than simply saying a few words. It means to honor, lift, affirm the value and worth and life of another in such a way that we promise to turn our actions toward ensuring justice for another. To bless the animals means to live life with integrity for all of our neighbors on this planet. It means to take their well-being into our considerations and decisions with an awareness of how our decisions might impact the world around us, remembering it's their world as well. It means to wake up to the conditions of factory animals, or extinguishing species, or abused and neglected pets. They've always been there for us. And now it's our turn to be there for them. We cannot turn away from the beauty or the brutality. We need to see the pieces of it and take it in so that we can transform that pain into action. When we allow the beauty of another species to really touch our hearts, we will inevitably come to understand why Mahatma Gandhi once said that the measure of a society's morality could be measured by how they treat their animals. If this was the measure we use today, we would not be doing so well. If we embrace the Native American spiritual practice of regarding animals as our relations, interacting with them mindfully, compassionately, with respect and care, we would perhaps fare better. This is hard, as our relationship is mighty complicated. All we can do is begin with mindfulness and gratitude for all that they've given to us. And then maybe, just maybe, we can begin to create a world based on their teachings. A world of love, compassion, wholeness, holiness. A world of justice on behalf of all our animal